welcome to Forgotten Frights. I am Josh. I'm sitting here with Adam.
Hey, how's it going?
And today on the podcast, we are reviewing the 1974 horror film Madhouse, directed by Jim Clark and starring Vincent Price, Peter Cushing, Robert Quarry, and Adrienne Corri. Here's the trailer.
Ladies and gentlemen, for the next few moments, you will be witnessing scenes from a new motion picture starring Vincent Price, master of the macabre. To those among you who are easily frightened, we suggest you turn away now. To those of you who think they can take it, we say, welcome to the Madhouse. Perhaps it was inevitable. For years, this man has played the role of Dr. Death. For years, he has pretended to be a hideous, murdering monster. No! Now, at last, he has actually become one. American International presents Vincent Price in Madhouse, where lunacy lives.
All I ever got was a stake through the heart.
Tonight, I would like you to meet my next victim.
Fear lurks, evil walks, and death waits.
Death is the name of a doctor you've met.
Stop it!
Madhouse, a cinematic shock treatment, guaranteed to scare you out of your mind. No one ever leaves Madhouse.
Okay, there was the super quiet trailer to Madhouse. Hopefully we learned something from that. I don't know if we did, but before we get into it, Adam, how's it going?
Good. The trailer looked really scary.
I like that it had a silent crawl at the very beginning of just words and no other audio.
Yes.
It's really good for podcasting.
Yeah, it's a great audio for the audio medium. Yeah.
Yes. Maybe I'll go back and I will read that part out loud and then the trailer will play.
Nice.
I will try to do it in the scariest affectation I could possibly do it in, but we'll see. Yeah, so we are reviewing Madhouse today. I have a variety of things I need to talk about as far as the two movie choices. I think it's interesting that we did two building-related movies.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Madhouse and Theater of Blood.
Yeah, they really, in some ways, they ran together. It was sort of like watching just one 3-hour epic.
Yeah, and there's a lot of like recurring themes.
Yeah.
Aging actors
Yeah.
who have been maligned by critics and pushed off onto an island by themselves.
There's a lot of I feel like there's a lot of real meat on the bone with these characters.
Yes, and I think one is more successful than the other at this.
I believe so too. Yeah.
But I think getting into it, and we'll get to our likes and dislikes. I think they're both really good.
I do too.
But could they be one 4-hour-long movie? Absolutely.
I think so.
So, yeah, we can get into it. Is there anything you wanted to discuss before we get there?
No, let's jump in.
Okay. So, I guess, I also have, they're both about getting revenge, right? So we have the theme of revenge. I also wanted to point out that the ending to the films, both films, are like the tropiest thing we've talked about on previous episodes. These directors definitely hit the third act and they go, how are we going to end this? And it's like, I have a one. I know the way.
Yeah.
And either it's Roger Corman or in this case Jim Clark, but this is through AIP, and they've done quite a few Vincent Price and just kind of horror pictures anyway. So I almost wonder how many of those have the same ending.
Their gasoline budget was out of control.
Torches alone.
Yeah.
All right, let me check, and then I'm just checking levels. I'm not sure if you want to come in a little bit closer. Yours
check
is
one,
this.
Two.
Yours
check
is on
one,
the bottom
two.
one here. I just want to make sure I'm not too loud, and you're like,
check,
hello.
Check.
Let me see if is that about how far you're going to be? Try that.
Check 1 2. Check 1 2.
Oh, that's better.
Okay. Yeah, I can hear myself a little better now.
Okay, I will because they're going to be independent anyway. I will go and boost your I'll boost the other one. That's probably as loud as you want to go.
Check 1 2.
Is that good?
Test.
Is that too loud?
No.
Okay. So anyway, we are going to get into the movie. Before we get there, the tagline. Do you know what the tagline of Madhouse is?
No.
Living here would be sheer bliss. Madhouse.
I would never guess that.
Living here would be sheer bliss.
Sheer bliss.
Which I think is interesting.
Does bliss mean murder in Britain? I don't understand.
Living here would be sheer.
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 Oh, shears. I'll cut you.
You know, that famous scene from Madhouse where he's got a pair of shears.
That's right.
Yeah, I think very curious tagline, because from what I understand, the movie wasn't even supposed to be called Madhouse. And the fact that it's called Madhouse, I think, is more confusing, because I expected there to be a house.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, there's an estate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we get into it?
Okay.
Let's get into it, because I've quibbled with that.
The house is, yeah.
What is the house here, you know?
Yeah.
So the introduction is, or the film starts, I should say, and it's actually kind of a modern intro, because it's got the what is that little ticket? It's coming. Do you wanna move move your phone out of the way and see if that? I put mine back here, but we'll just see, because if that's not it, then it doesn't matter. I don't know. It's a very modern intro, because it starts with like a movie, so it's meta, right? So it's like it starts with a movie that's playing on a screen, but you don't know it's a movie playing on a screen. You think it's, oh, this is Madhouse.
This is the movie.
This is the movie, and then it cuts to like an audience, and they start clapping. They're like, "Yay!" And it's the fifth Dr. Death film.
Yeah.
Starring Vincent Price as Dr. Death.
Paul Toombs,
yes, and then his friend, who this Paul Toombs, and then Peter Cushing. So Vincent Price plays Paul Toombs.
Correct.
And then Peter Cushing plays Herbert Flay. So I said gory last names.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
So Paul Toombs.
Herb Flay.
Yeah, Herb Flay.
You could do that with Shears.
Oh, you could.
Mm-hmm. I think we're connecting the dots.
Christine Shears is the love interest, I guess. So Vincent Price is Paul Toombs, Peter Cushing, Herbert Flay. So they're at the premiere of the fifth Dr. Death film, and everybody's like ecstatic, and Vincent Price is like, I don't know if he's back or if he's just like, I'm so successful now because I've had 5 of these.
It feels sort of like a tribute. It feels like, everybody's like, oh, he's done so many of these movies, and he's, I think people respect him and enjoy his stuff, even though it's a little over the top.
Yeah. Because everybody's kind of like, because there's some people like talking smack when he's like his young girlfriend.
One guy specifically.
Yes. And that happens kind of like toward the end of the party, but he's like, oh, he's got this new like girlfriend, and they're like over there smooching in the corner, and he's like, and he's got his best friend and a writer who's Peter Cushing, and he's like, debonair Peter Cushing, who's like, yeah, he's awesome, and so is Dr. Death, and then they're kind of hobnobbing, and then a guy approaches both Vincent Price and his girlfriend, and reveals that he was in porno.
Yes,
adult films.
She was.
And he was like a producer or director.
Oh, he was right.
Yeah, something like that. And then, but Vincent Price doesn't know that, and he's like, "What other skeletons do you have in your closet?" That sort of thing. And she gets upset, and then she leaves, and then he leaves too. He disappears, and I don't remember. Do they show him like gloving up? Like they
show someone gloving up.
Somebody's gloving up, but we just don't know who that is.
Yep.
Dial me back. There we go.
they have a scene where they show hands putting gloves on, but they purposely don't show you whose putting the gloves on.
Yeah, whose gloves they might be.
Yes.
So then we get Vincent Price wakes up because she gets attacked. She's in her room and she goes and opens like her closet or something, and there is Dr. Death in kind of a pretty scary mask, I think, kind of like a
sort of a proto. It kind of reminded me of Masters of the Universe, the Frank Langella mask.
Yeah, and she screams and then runs, or she doesn't even run; it just freeze frames. Vincent Price comes into the room after, and he's like, "Okay, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to say that," and then grabs her head falls off, and then it does like a zoom up on Vincent Price's screaming face.
It's like a fisheye lens, and they used it a couple of times in the movie with a couple of different people. Maybe they used it on Price a couple of times, but I just know when they wanted to get those really, when they really wanted to sell the horror of the moment.
Yeah,
they really. I felt like it was kind of effective. I kind of liked it.
I think it was. I think it was effective. I think it was very weird. And I think that's why it was effective, is that it was, you don't really see something that weird and that kind of like, how did they direct Vincent Price in that moment? It was my first thought, like, make a big, like, what is that, like a wide mouth bass? Is that what I'm thinking of? Like, make a face like that with like big juicy wormy lips.
Yeah.
And then like throw your head back and he's
a
like,
grimace of terror.
Yes. And he was like, I've got just the one.
This is then in my back pocket.
I think that was my wife was watching it with us, and it was like one of the 3 times she looked up during the film. It was just like, what? I was like, hey, whatever. So we cut to that producer who was in adult films, and we're in kind of what is it, like modern day, I guess, or modern day for the time. So it cuts to London.
I think the whole thing is contemporary. I think maybe there were a couple years past because he was in a sanitarium.
Yeah, so he goes. They claim that he was like running up and down the streets dressed as Dr. Death, and like he was like lost his mind after this girl's murder, and then he thinks he's responsible for it too.
He doesn't know,
and he doesn't know whether he did it. Yeah, so he seems like he's racked with guilt, so he doesn't know, but he's like, I'm capable of Dr. Death, and we'll get to that because that's kind of a reoccurring theme throughout. So he is, because they show him for a minute, like they're giving him like medication or something in the hospital or whatever sanitarium, and he's just lamenting the fact that he doesn't know.
Yeah, they ask him straight up. They're like, "Did you do it?
Did you cut her head off?"
I don't know.
Did you kill her? Cut her head off? Put her in front of her mirror and then exit the room and then walk back in and shake her body and her head fell off?
And then do that weird scream thing? Did you?
Did you do it? It's like, I don't remember. So he's been out of commission for some time. And then there's another young woman. So Vincent Price, either way, he gets hired to do a Dr. Death TV show for the BBC.
TV series, yeah.
But he goes to see Cushing first, right?
It's like, hey, we know that you've had these struggles with, your wife dying, and it's all kind of surrounded with Dr. Death. Yeah. However, we have three seasons in the yeah. We can definitely make this happen.
I think this is very similar to John Rambo. I saw a lot of parallels between Madhouse and Rambo. I don't know if you did. He's been out of commission for a while. They got to bring him back in, and they're like, "We know you saw the horrors of this, but you have to come in and you got to do it again."
Yeah.
So
this movie had quite a few less exploding bullets.
Yes, and limbs flying. Well, I did have a few limbs.
A few, yeah.
So he goes to meet Peter Cushing because Peter Cushing's like, "You got to get back in the game. You are the Dr. Death." And I think for Cushing, his character Herbert Flay, he has to. He's like the writer, so he has to be like, I'm going to write Dr. Death, and I need you to portray Dr. Death. This is this partnership, so we're led to believe. Meanwhile, so on his way there, Vincent Price's way there, there's a young girl who like comes into his cabin. I think he's on a ship, and she comes in the cabin and is like, hey, I need to be hired for this Dr. Death show, and you can help me do that. And then and he's like, "Oh, leave me alone. I just want to be left alone or whatever." He gets to Cushing's house, the Madhouse, and the titular Madhouse, and Peter Cushing immediately starts showing him horror films. It's like,
and they're old Vincent Price horror films,
which is kind of a cool through line is that there's like all of these older pictures that he was in, and I think most, if not all, are through American International Pictures, who produced Madhouse. What I thought was really cool is at the very beginning, it said in like special recognition to Boris Karloff and Basil Rathbone. Did you see that?
I didn't, but I wonder if that was just based on the fact that they were in those movies.
Yes.
And I don't know if they had passed by then.
I think they had. I think from what I read, Boris Karloff had died, and then pretty soon after, Basil Rathbone had died.
Okay, all right.
And so then they show at least one. I thought they were going to show Black Sabbath and Boris Karloff in that, and I got so excited. But it was a different film they showed. But they did show Tales of Terror, and they showed the Facts in the Case of M. Valdemar.
Mm-hmm.
When Vincent Price is following Basil Rathbone at the very end of that segment, which I thought was cool. And it's also great for the podcast because we've covered a few of the movies they showed, like Tales of Terror. I was like, hey, cool, we already talked about these.
There was, I thought there was a weird meta moment in the movie where, you have Vincent Price playing a character named Paul Toombs.
Yes.
Who's based on Vincent Price playing all these horror, roles through his career.
Yeah.
And then, he's watching this movie, the one that Peter Cushing's showing him. And then Paul Toombs, Vincent Price, says, Basil. And he says something about how good he was.
Yeah, that's weird.
And it's like, okay, so in this universe, Basil Rathbone exists, but Vincent Price doesn't?
Yeah.
Which is weird.
Yeah, I don't...
And it got me thinking too. It's like, how weird would it have been if they would have just said, this guy's, he was playing the character of Vincent Price, because essentially he is.
Yeah, I don't. Do you think that would have even? I don't think they probably at the time they were like, that's too much for audiences and they can't. I mean, that's a modern thing now where it's just like the actor just plays himself, and it's like Jean-Claude Van Damme in that one movie where he just plays himself. It's like, I think that's kind of accepted though in the where it's like, oh, he's just making fun of himself.
Maybe that's breaking the third wall too much, or the fourth wall.
What they should have done, third and fourth, what they should have done is he should have been like Basil, and then he should have been like, oh, Boris, for Boris Karloff, and then he's like, oh, and Vincent Price, that other guy.
That would have really
not me.
That would have thrown me for a loop.
And just like a zoom in on Vincent Price and they kind of did, because if you look at the Facts in the Case of M. Valdemar, so Paul Toombs played the Vincent Price character in that, and Basil Rathbone was running from him in that.
Yes.
So he's Paul Toombs in this universe. He's not Vincent Price.
Right.
Which is what they're getting at.
Right. Unless there is a doppelganger
who looks just like him.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be.
I don't know.
Yeah, this is a Last Action Hero where Sylvester Stallone plays the Terminator and not Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, I like this. Yep. I like this. So anyway, Price is being stalked by this young woman. They watch the video in Peter Cushing's house. You get a sense that Vincent Price is still off. There's something wrong because he's kind of hypnotized by this video as he watches it. We cut to the young girl looking for Vincent Price, and then she sees kind of a shadowy figure out in the hedges.
She followed Paul Toombs to Herbert Flay's estate.
Yes.
So she's there, yes.
And then she goes in. She doesn't find anything, but looking out the window, she sees a shadowy figure out there. And she goes to investigate and is stabbed in the neck with a pitchfork. Mm-hmm. Yep, which is pretty cool. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good stabbing. And then he puts her on a boat and just kind of casts her off into a foggy pond.
Yes.
Yeah.
I liked that girl. I liked the part she played. She was very insistent when she met him on the boat, and she was trying to seduce him, and he's just pie facing her, get out of my room. And then she's just very persistent. She kind of had she had some comedy chops. She kind of lightened the mood, and then they killed her brutally.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. So she gets Vincent Price then wakes up because right before she gets killed, and anytime there's going to be a murder, there's like a smash cut to like a pair of hands gloving up, and Vincent Price inconspicuously, maybe conspicuously, leaves the room, and then we cut to hands gloving up. So you get the sense Vincent Price is leaving to go glove up and dress up as Dr. Death. He then kills this girl, loads her body up, sends her off. Vincent Price then wakes up, which is a reoccurring thing. Anytime there's a killing, Vincent Price then wakes up from like a nap, and he's like, "Whoo, what a long hour that was!" And he starts to kind of investigate Peter Cushing's house and finds a lady in the basement who is Peter Cushing's wife, who starred with him in a previous film somewhere prior to
in a Dr. Death film.
In a Dr. Death film,
yeah.
And she was like in a car accident and was horribly burned because her hair falls off. And then she's like, "I used to be beautiful. I'm not beautiful anymore." And she puts her wig back on. Which created more questions for me than anything. Like, why did Peter Cushing put her in the basement?
Maybe she just lives in the basement. Maybe he's not. I mean, they don't ever interact.
Except for the very ending.
Yeah, but I mean, through the whole movie, though,
a mortal interaction.
I've seen this movie a couple of times, and this is the first time I realized that it's his wife. I'm like, why do you just have this lady living in the basement?
I had to, and that's a fact I had to look up. I didn't understand. Yeah. Like, why is he hoarding a person who's clearly mentally unfit and unwell? Yeah. But she's also got a bunch of spiders down there.
She does.
That she calls her babies.
Yep.
And Vincent Price is like, spooky.
This is a madhouse.
Oh, this is what is this? A madhouse?
What house is this?
So, smash cut to girl's body who was stabbed in the neck with a pitchfork. She's found by a couple of boys who are fishing. Investigators start to get involved. I think they have some inkling that some of the murders have been caused or were perpetrated by Paul Toombs, Vincent Price's character. They start to, get curious. I think it's Scotland. Is it Scotland Yard?
I think so.
And they're investigating anyway. They're like, okay, well, this girl.
Another point to make, just because everything is leading to Paul Toombs doing this, when in the very beginning, when his wife gets decapitated in the whole fisheye lens thing, before he finds his wife's decapitated body, he wakes up on his bed and he's got the gloves next to him on the bed. So somebody either he took the gloves off on the bed, or somebody. So it is either he is the killer or somebody is leading him to believe that he is the killer.
Yeah. So I think that's I think that's the idea. And when we get to kind of likes and dislikes, I think there's we've got some things to discuss there. But now we get I think the more interesting the movie finally hits its stride, and I think we get to the interesting point in the film. I hate to say that, but Vincent Price is now on set of the Dr. Death TV show, and we get some more like interesting interactions. That producer, the slimy producer, comes back, and he's
Oliver Quayle.
Yes, Oliver Quayle, and he starts. He's not directing, but he's just kind of like, without telling him, he's like, "You're washed up has-been. You need to be here. Do your job."
He's giving notes. Yes.
And then he's like, "Oh, you also need this assistant." And Vincent Price is just so like, he's so angry about it and so not wanting an assistant. And he's like, "Well, like they try to do one scene and she just doesn't do what she's supposed to do." And he's like, "Will you like get her out of here? Like she sucks." And they're just like, "Oh God, he's going to be difficult." This sort of thing. So we go to like a party, and I think there's kind of like I guess Easter eggs to point out at the party, because they're doing it's like a Halloween party, I guess, or a costume party for Dr. Death. I don't know what the
everybody's dressed up as spooky monsters.
They are.
Paul Toombs has the Dr. Death makeup on.
Yep.
I think the slimy producer is a Dracula.
Yeah, so he's actually from what I looked up, Robert Quarry played Count Yorga, who was like a vampire.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
And I don't know what that is. I think it'd be worth investigating for the podcast.
Yeah.
But apparently that's why he's dressed like a vampire. And then Peter Cushing might be wearing the same costume. I don't know if they just.
Oh, he's dressed as a vampire. I thought that was a nice nod. There,
and I think they were nodding to that as well. That he's been in a lot of Hammer horror films, and played Van Helsing in quite a few films. So they're like, dress him like vampire. It would be funny. And he's like, okay, cool.
Yeah, little known fact that Christopher Lee was the boom mic operator in this film.
He was, and he was dressed like Van Helsing while he's holding the whole mic.
The whole time. I killed the vampire.
Yeah, and he said, "Isn't it weird how you're dressed like that and I'm dressed like this? Weird, right? Because we normally play the opposite."
Get it?
They were both hammered too, so that's the only way that conversation. So I believe it's the assistant. Or is it the girl who they hired as his assistant in the show? She ends up in like an arcade/exercise room, whatever that.
Yeah. So the lady that the slimy producer, I don't know, I don't have her name, but the assistant for the TV show, that's the one that's the next to.
Yeah, and I think in a really effective and scary scene, and I don't know if I assume. Just kind of with the way the movie's laid out, I assume that the director certainly seemed competent in filming this. There was a super effective. She gets cornered, and it just kind of cuts to the Dr. Death character with this kind of like Masters of the Universe mask, and he's just like walking toward her, and it's just like a full shot, and that's pretty. It's pretty creepy. He's just walking at her, and it's like I think that's pretty well done. And then I think he just chokes her. He just chokes her against the wall.
I think so too. Yeah.
And then they cut to her like hanging from the ceiling, like a body bag, literally like a body bag.
And I think Vincent Price's actual assistant, Julia.
Yeah.
Julia finds her. She opens the door and
like,
she's hanging, and then the cops and other people dressed like monsters.
Yes. And then Scotland Yard finally decides to bring Vincent Price in, and they say, did you murder all these people? Did you kill your wife and put her head on top of her body? Did you stab this lady in the neck and put her on a boat? And he's like, because he like tries the gloves on, and he's like, they fit perfectly, but yeah, they're size 9 gloves, and they're like clearly somebody's trying to frame me.
He hands them to the inspector, and the inspector puts them on, and he's like, they fit. And he's like, no, okay.
Yeah. And then I didn't even see that, so that's good.
He's like, now your turn, and then the inspector puts them on, and he's like, okay, fine.
I get it, whatever. So then he leaves. Then we get a very interesting subplot of like 2 extortionist thieves who have his watch from his wife.
So do you know who they were?
No.
They're Elizabeth. So the girl who tried to proposition Toombs on the boat.
Yes.
That's her parents.
So what I didn't catch was how did they get his watch from his wife? Because I think it's the woman at the very beginning who dies.
Yes.
That's his wife, right? They were recently married, or is it a longtime girlfriend?
I think they were either married or it was his fiance.
Okay. How did they? Because she gave him the watch, right?
Yeah, but I think the Elizabeth, Elizabeth Peters, who ends up dying by pitchfork to neck.
Yes.
She, I think she picked the watch up on the boat, maybe?
Okay, and then that ended up in her parents' hands because she died. They found the watch on her.
I'm thinking so.
Okay, that would make sense. They then go, "Hey, we can extort him for killing our daughter."
I guess.
Yeah,
it is a very strange subplot.
It is, and they're kind of like wacky and zany, and their daughter's dead. So I don't know if maybe we can chalk it up to they're just they're reeling from their daughter's death, so they're wacky and zany. And they just keep saying, we want 10,000 pounds, 10,000 pounds, which I didn't look up what the conversion rate for 10,000 pounds is, but is that like $1,000?
Probably. It's probably a lot of money for the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I need $450 for an electric bill. That's
20 million quid.
I need ruples. So Vincent Price gets, stopped by them out in the
courtyard area.
Yeah, of the Madhouse. And then is just like, get away from me. See you later. he goes inside. They had during the tussle where the extortionists come up to him, they actually drop the watch, and then I think we're led to believe that Vincent Price sees the watch outside in the grass. He then sits down, and then it cuts to him gloving up, but it's not. They don't show him; they just show the hands. And then he picks up the watch. The extortionists see him, and they're like, "Okay, now we can get our 10,000 pounds." And Dr. Death, a great scene. He leads them through the courtyard, in through the front door, and he's holding the pocket watch out, and they're just kind of following it like, I don't even know, like a cat toy, and there's like two cats following him. Right. And he's kind of just like leading them. He leads them all the way to the top of the stairs. As soon as they get there, that's when he decides to strike. He takes a sword and impales the guy with it, and it goes right through to the wife. And then they topple over. Yep. It was such a prolonged...
Like a shish kebab situation. Yeah.
It's like, well, I can't do this out here. I got to get him inside the top of the stairs.
I got to walk backwards up the stairs first.
I'm going to... my assumption is the director was like, how can I do like a Hitchcockian thing? How can I make this like Psycho?
I guess.
Like... and if not that, he was just like, I'm out of ideas. Well, and I need to fill 10 minutes.
And maybe back before the, obviously slasher movies have it's been so prevalent in the last 50 years. But maybe at the time, it really was hard to think of another kill. And it's so weird because this whole parent extorting him, they could have just like had a lady running by the house and she sees Dr. Death and they die. Yeah. It's just, it doesn't really come into play for the rest of the story.
It's weird, and I think it would have been better suited if he had just pitching here. If he had, like, before he got to the Madhouse, he just had the watch dangling off his waist or something, off his belt, and like a ne'er-do-well saw it and was like, I can get that, and then starts to extort him and then gets killed. Tying it back to the lady and making it like her parents, it's just like confounding.
Yeah.
It's like, well, we can't leave him alive. We have to kill him. So I think it's very strange.
Yeah.
So, and in another great moment, we cut immediately to the director showing Vincent Price a trap they set up for the Dr. Death TV show, and it's inexplicably it's a bed with a top,
a hydraulic press.
And it comes down, and he's like, you got to check this out. First thing you do.
It is a hydraulic press. How much money did they spend?
He
could have dropped it with anything.
And I don't know. He's like, he doesn't say it, but he should have. This has killing power. It's so realistic, and you
don't want to fool with this.
No, and we for our BBC television show, it has to be as real as possible.
Oh, for one episode, for one scene, we've contracted a company to make a hydraulic press bed.
Yeah, something. They should have showed them like crushing different objects and stuff. Like, check it out. But he does. He's so like. And the director's so excited about it, he like lays on the bed and like he puts the hand clamps on because he's like tied down.
They come out of the bed.
Yes, and then he's like now, Mr. Toombs, Vincent Price, you can start it, and he starts it, and the press starts to come down, and he's like, now just hit the red button, and everything is gonna be okay. And then Vincent Price is like, got it, and he just like presses the button, and nothing happens, and then he's like, and now press the button, so this hydraulic press stops.
And the manacles are real, like everything about it.
Yes, and I was trying to think of something. What would be the equivalent of that in real life, where somebody just set up like a, they have a gun with a false trigger.
Yeah,
but they leave the real trigger on. So don't touch that one, but touch this one. Or like, I don't even like a magic show where it's like, we're gonna take this sword and stick it through the box. It's a real sword. And I couldn't think of anything because I was like, it would be so insane if they actually did that, and maybe people just do. I don't know. It actually.
I mean, you think about accidents on sets where people get shot. It happens. I mean, but that's more believable than a bet. Like, what a weird way to go.
And you're right too. I hadn't even thought of the fact that, like, why didn't they just make the why didn't they make the manacles or the shackles? Why didn't they just make those fake?
Yeah, they set it up where it was an actual killing machine.
And he dies. He gets crushed. He can't stop.
This is the director of the series.
Yes. And the Vincent Price is like disgusted and he leaves. And the producer's like, ugh, I gotta find a new director. That man is dead. Your show is
just
over.
Annoyed. He's like, oh,
there's no more Dr. Death. That show needs to stop now. A great scene though. I found it very funny.
It might have been my favorite scene in the movie.
Yes, and Vincent Price frantically hitting the button. He's like, "Ew, blasted thing." Very, very, very humorous.
And it's like a big box that you would like put on the side of like a scissor lift. It's like it's too much power. Really it just is.
He's like, he should have showed him the gears behind at the wall. He's like, look at this thing. It's huge cogs spinning to get this thing up.
OSHA should have been out there with a clipboard, something.
He held a meeting before the press came down, and he walked everybody through. He's like, look at the crushing power. They showed like a video. He's like real shackles. And then somebody was like, what's our fail safe? And he was like, all right, everybody, let's get out there and do it. And they're like, no, the fail-safe. What's the fail-safe? And he just blows them off. Why would we need that?
Jack Smith variety. Is it real crushing power?
Well, look at this video.
Oh, my God.
Watch this watermelon get crushed under the weight of this thing. So we've got the lady from the basement, Peter Cushing's wife, finds the extortionists, finds their bodies, and then shortly thereafter, Dr. Death then actually pursues Vincent Price, is chasing him down. They have kind of like a fight scene in what will be the final set, which is kind of like there's a bed with a large table with like a banquet set out on it.
It's the crushing bed next to the table.
Yes.
Yeah, all the set pieces are just kind of all in one room.
Yes, and I think that probably makes sense for like a television show.
Yep.
And so Dr. Death gets an axe off the wall, and they have this like physical altercation, and then Vincent Price gets stuck on the bed. His arm gets tied down on the bed, and the hydraulic press starts, and then he's able to kicks Dr. Death in the face, and he's able to get the wristband off, and he just narrowly escapes being crushed. Which I have to assume, like, the fresh blood of the director and bone marrow and brain matter is still just on the bed.
It's not they didn't take it apart. They didn't. Yeah.
It would be funny if
he not roped off as a crime scene.
It should have, right? Yeah. It should be like it'd be funny if he fell back and he landed on the director's body. They hadn't even moved him yet.
It happened on a Friday. It's like, we'll get to him Monday.
Yeah. Well, somebody give me that giant scraper. We got to get him off this thing. So he ends up. He's running from Dr. Death. He ends up on, I don't know, and I probably just missed something, but he ends up on a television talk show. And the guy is like, I've been waiting to interview you for so long. And suddenly he's just
being interviewed. Was scheduled to do an interview.
That's why he dressed up?
Yes.
Okay. He goes from there. They have the interview. I thought it was really funny that the interviewer goes, now, let's take a look at one of your greatest scenes. And what is that scene, Adam, but a house burning down and falling apart? And I believe it's from the Fall of the House of Usher. His greatest scene is just another house burning down.
Yeah.
You just can't escape it. Mm-hmm. It's so funny. Because I couldn't stop thinking, just like, the reoccurring theme of all these movies is just like, house burns down, and it's just so funny. The guy's like, this is what you're going to be remembered for, and it cuts to a house burning down.
And I think that he does that before he even asks one question.
He's like, look at this, you fool. So he leaves the interview early. He's pursued by Scotland Yard. He finds Ellen, a girl who was trying to help him, who called him at some point and said, like, I know what's going on, meet me in this place. When you get a second. He gets there, and she's been stabbed in the neck. We do another fisheye lens where...
That was Julia.
Oh, okay. I have Ellen. See, and I thought he said Ellen.
Ellen might have been, I don't remember the name, but Ellen might have been the lady down in the wife of Flay.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, Julia, his assistant, another nice... a good acting performance. She was one of the only people that you didn't think was a bad person in the movie, and I think she dies similar to the way that his wife dies.
Yeah, and he has the I think it's the recurring thing again where we've got the fisheye lens. He's he's really upset. He carries her through the studio, and then he turns on the master lock, which locks everything down in the studio, and he's on the set with the table and the crushing bed and all of that, and he's like lamenting her death. Again, I find it very funny that the Scotland Yard is pursuing him with some of the studio people, and as soon as he turns on that master lock, literally they hit the door and they're like, well, that's it. There's nothing that can be done. Everything's locked down. We'll never get in there. There's just nothing that they can do. He then has a very long monologue. I think it's good, but he monologues about death and how Dr. Death is actually us, and it's always been us. And he deserves his fate, because I think he's still of the assumption that he's doing this, I think, even though Dr. Death is like chasing him. Yeah,
I think he's so far gone, like his mind is broken and he doesn't really know what to think anymore. So many people around him have died.
Yes, in horrible ways. So he catches the place on fire, as is his wont.
Easily too. Like when he lights a doorway on fire, it just goes up.
Yeah, he takes like a part of the script, I think, and he like puts it over a candle, and he turns the way that bed lit up with the crushing mechanism on it. He touched it daintily, and it just exploded in fire.
He theatrically flung his arm one way and just burst into flames.
The only thing he wasn't doing was just like la da dee la da da as the place is like burning to the ground, because it was very dainty. So he then catches on fire, and he throws himself face first on a table and immolates. Yeah. We then cut to Herbert Flay. He's signing to play the role of Dr. Death, and then the producer gives him the film canister of Vincent Price's death. He's like, an early version of Faces of Death here for you.
Yeah.
Check it out, because I know you want to.
And Peter Cushing as Herbert Flay, he seems down. Like, yes, I'll play the part, but he seems torn because his friend is gone. And the greasy producer is still like, watch him die.
Yes, here you go. It's really cool. This cuts to Cushing doing that exact thing. He starts watching the movie. He's dressed like a Dracula, I think.
I think he's dressed like Dr. Death.
Oh, he's dressed like
he's loving it. He's living his best life.
He's back in the Dracula outfit. Get it still? I'm still trying to...
Drax back.
Oh, God. It's like... but now he's dressed like Bela Lugosi. His hair slicked back. He's like a different kind. So he starts watching it. I don't really understand what happens here, but... I get it. He's watching it. There's a fire. Vincent Price stands up from the fire in the movie because he's watching a projector, and then walks off screen into real life, and then is like, "You killed me. You did this." And then they start to fight each other, kind of having like a sword / Vincent Price has like a big candle holder, and he's battling Peter Cushing. They get to the basement. They battle a little bit. They go down the stairs, back up the stairs, because they've got like 2 sets to work with here. And then just out of nowhere, Ellen, or his Peter Cushing's wife, comes out and just stabs him in the back like 3 times. He has a very dramatic death, falls over the railing and lands in a big pit of spiders, and they eat his flesh.
Fast.
Really And then she's like, "Ooh, you guys were very hungry."
Forgot to feed you.
Yeah, whoops. Oh, and then also Peter Cushing reveals, like, I was the murderer. I was the Dr. Death murderer the whole time. I wanted to play Dr. Death, and this is the only... I couldn't ask for it. I didn't know how. So I decided to murder everyone you loved.
No how.
That was never anything that was guaranteed to me, so I murdered everyone you know and love.
I didn't really want to murder you. I just wanted to make you go crazy.
I was thinking, I want to play Dr. Death. I don't know how. So I stabbed a lady in the neck with a pitchfork and loaded her on a boat. It still didn't come to me. So then the very end is Vincent Price putting on Peter Cushing makeup to make himself look like Peter Cushing.
Yep.
And then he goes and sits with Peter Cushing's wife, and she feeds him sour cream and a red herring, and they both laugh. And it slowly pans out from the Madhouse, and and then the credits roll, and the movie's done.
Not until you talked about him walking directly out of the the film of him burning alive. Mm-hmm. It never occurred to me. I just took it at face value. But yes, that's a very good point.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
My thought is he knew what he was doing, and so he walked toward the camera. And that in real life, he was positioned in such a way that he walked out at the same time. That can be the only thing, because he suddenly has supernatural powers.
I mean, it's hard to tell, because what you're saying, I agree with, but that's such. This whole movie is built on choreography and moving around without people knowing.
Yes, and
Peter Cushing did that through the whole movie.
But I also don't understand, because there's a reoccurring theme of mental illness and psychosis and insanity. And so if Peter Cushing is also crazy, which clearly he is, did he envision that? And Vincent Price was just standing there? And then I had to look up what sour cream and red herring meant.
Red herring, I get the red herring part. The sour cream part, I thought it was just maybe a real dish. The red herring,
that's what I just thought it was, and I thought it was like a dish best served
creamy,
lukewarm and creamy.
Revenge is best served lukewarm and creamy.
I think what was supposed to come out of that was the red herring, because that's the movie is, right? It's constantly giving you red herrings. It's not Peter Cushing, it's Vincent Price. And then the sour cream, from what I looked up, best guesses were that it's sour. It's a souring effect.
It's a supreme way to get revenge.
But there was some shredded cheese on the top.
Yep.
And a dollop of beans. So anyway, that is the film. Adam, do you have anything you'd like to add as far as any of the beats, the hits? We actually went a little bit longer than we normally do, but I think that's probably going to be with time. We'll get in a little bit more detail as we go.
No, I mean, I think we covered everything in the movie that happened in the movie, so we'll get to our likes and dislikes next, right?
Yep. Well, we're going to do a trivia game first, and then we'll go right into likes and dislikes.
Okay.
So we will be right back. Hello and welcome back to Forgotten Frights. I'm Josh. Oh, God. I'm Josh. I'm sitting here with Adam.
Hey.
Okay. We're combining two segments, one of which is a true and false trivia game where I'm going to read questions and Adam is going to try to figure out which, whether it's true or false. And then we are going to go right into our likes and dislikes for the film and close it out. So, Adam, are you ready for the trivia game on 1974's film Madhouse?
I am ready.
All right, number one. The film was a passion project for director Jim Clark, who considered it one of his finest works. True or false?
This is according to Jim Clark?
The film was a passion project for director Jim Clark. Yeah, so I think it's according to him.
I'm going to say false.
It is false, so you are right. Clark disliked this film even after he made it. He said there was a lot of studio interference, and they were literally writing and rewriting during production to come up with plot points and the ending. Let me see here. I think I have some extras down here.
That kind of makes sense.
That goes into... Yeah, so this is director Jim Clark's fourth and final film. Clark disliked the film as it was interfered with and the script was worked on, in quotes, during the production. Price would not work for American... Hold on, let me make sure that's not a... Okay, I can say that. So this is a little bit of cursing. I just wanted to make sure I didn't have this anywhere else because it's gold. So it was interfered with, and the script was worked on during production. Price would not work for AIP, American International Pictures, again. And in the future, he was known to say, as far as the heads of AIP, he would just refer to them as those cocksuckers.
Oh, my.
He really was not happy with them.
No.
So. Okay, now that we have that underway, let's do number 2. Peter Cushing was known for his delicate approach to action scenes, often faking his fight choreography to avoid injuring his co-stars. True or false?
I'm going to say true.
That is false. So Peter Cushing was actually, according to Vincent Price, extremely aggressive, and he's like one of the strongest men Vincent Price ever knew. Yeah, so he said, let me see. He said, Peter was a very wiry little fellow, but he was one of the strongest men I ever knew in my life. I had to do several fight scenes with him in Madhouse. My God, he can throw you. He doesn't fake it at all. He was very realistic and a very serious-minded actor, but he was also very gentle. He was a sweet man, and I'm very, very fond of him.
Oh, that's nice.
That's nice. But he was also like, he broke my arm in 3 places and bent a chair over my head. Question 3. After Madhouse, Vincent Price moved to Australia to retire from acting and to live a quiet life. True or false?
I'm going to say false.
It is false. He actually moved to the U.S. with his 3rd wife, Carol Brown, who I believe he met on the set of this film. And he shifted his career focus after that. And I think he stopped doing more completely horror-centric films after that. I don't know what actually comes after this for his career, but I know he was on the Halloween episode of The Muppets.
I think that's the last. No, yeah, no. He also did the Monster Club, which I guess was a horror comedy. That was like 81.
Did that have Peter Cushing too?
That had John Carradine.
Okay, they couldn't get Cushing, so they got Carradine.
Yeah, they got Carradine. I'll do anything.
Is that money I see in your
John?
back pocket?
I'll do anything for money, Carradine. Yeah, the Australia thing, that seems very, like, I mean, unless he did that for like a month and then he's like, actually, I still like acting.
This is boring. Did you say you're paying me in table scraps? I'll do it for that. Okay, question 4. Madhouse was the first on-screen pairing of horror legends Vincent Price and Peter Cushing.
That's a good question. That's a really good question.
Is that the first time they appeared together in a film?
I'm going to say appeared together in... okay, I know...
It was the first on-screen pairing.
On-screen. I'm going to say true.
That is true. Wow. I was shocked to find that out.
It is shocking,
It seems like they should have been in something even earlier, you know? It seems like it should have been in, like, you know, a 1950s horror movie, black and white, and then Peter Cushing and Vincent Price. Because I think they're both, what are they, they're both 125 in this film, right? So they must have
around
been
there, yeah.
So they were both 50.
I think it speaks to the iconic, you know, when you talk about Christopher Lee, Price, Cushing, Peter Lorre, you know, they're so intermingled, and they've been, for decades, they were so popular in these roles that I think it's just, you know, you think, oh yeah, they must have made a movie together type of thing.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Have you ever seen that interview with Christopher Lee? It's like I think it's on a what do they call that? Like a red carpet type thing for a film, and it might have been for Lord of the Rings. But the girl keeps calling him a horror legend, and he's like, "Stop calling me that." Have you ever seen that?
No.
Like, I haven't been in a horror movie in like 30 years. He's so mad.
He's dressed as Sauron.
He was dressed as Michael Myers, oddly enough. Stop calling me that.
I'm moving on to different things.
Yes. Question 5. Vincent Price had starred in 10 films for AIP before Madhouse.
That's true.
So it's false. 22 films.
Wow.
Yes.
I knew it was a lot, but jeepers.
Yeah, so he started in 22 films for AIP, and he still walked away calling them cocksuckers.
Well, I mean, hey, he would know.
He's like, the first 12, totally fine.
Yeah.
Second set, the next 10, terrible. So Adam, let's see, you got 5. So what do you have? 3 right?
I like that.
Yeah, you had 3 out of 5. So pretty good. I think that's been kind of our average as of late. Is just like 3 out of 5. But more so, I think this is it's beneficial to just give a little bit of background because sometimes just digging into these older films, you find out it's kind of like old school wrestling, where the stories aren't like they range from just like, oh yeah, we put like peanut butter in his shoes and it upset Andre the Giant, to yeah, then Big John Studd pulled a gun on me in a bar parking lot and tried to steal my money. And you get a lot of that from these older films where it's just like, yeah, and then Vincent Price like bit me at the craft service table and I don't know why. Weird stuff. Not that that's true, but yeah, you when you start digging in, it's like, I don't know what was going on back then.
Turns out Peter Cushing was an MMA legend.
Yeah, he was thinking about getting into it. He was at UFC 1. He kicked that guy in the face. Okay, so we can get right over to likes and dislikes if you would like. And would you like to start that?
Yeah. I mean, more or less, I like the movie. It's a fun movie to watch. It's got some. I mean, even the kills, they're not terribly gory or anything like that. And I think the best part of the movie for me is the fact that it's almost like Vincent Price is coming to terms with him being a horror icon and how much time he's put into that in his career, and I think it's admirable that he's able to play that part out in the movies where it's like he's aware. Yeah. He doesn't take himself so seriously. I think that's the overall impression of the movie that I got. And it was great to see him and Cushing play in the same movie together. And there were absolutely some parts of the movie where it's like, now that you pointed it out, where he's walking out of the film strip. But overall I like the movie. Yeah,
I think in touching on Vincent Price being an aging actor and kind of aging out of it, I thought maybe it'd be important to pull this excerpt. There's on the website thesoundofvincentprice.com. They I think they make a fairly salient point in that they say in 1974's Madhouse, it was a watershed moment in the history of British horror. It marked the end of the classic horror cycle before The Exorcist and Texas Chainsaw Massacre ushered in a new visceral style, and it was a swan song of sorts for Price, who hung up his horror crown after 14 years with AIP. His contract wasn't renewed, which he was clearly okay with, and then he embarked on a new life in the U.S. And in doing some math here, 14 years, 22 films. It's crazy. But, so, I mean, I think, end of an era. And I guess if right around the corner you have, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and The Exorcist, it's like Peter Cushing and Vincent Price sitting dressed like ghouls at a Halloween party in the movie. And just kind of,
very good point.
That's very, like, that's more potent, I guess. Kind of imagery of both of them sitting together and just going, well, this is what we have left. That's it. So, outside of, did you have any other likes and dislikes, or dislikes?
I mean, overall, like I said, I thought the movie was good. The subplot with the parents was weird. I don't think that was necessarily something that needed to be in there. But you did mention something about how the studio needed to poke its dirty nose into business, so maybe that was one of their notes.
Yeah, and I almost wonder could this movie even be good without notes? And not that it's bad, but could the plot be, what was the plot before? You know what I mean? Like what? I mean, either way, without studio meddling, it was going to end in a big fire.
It was going to end in a big fire. I mean, and then, there's a lot of things you have to suspend. I mean, the guy goes bonkers. Bonkers is probably the wrong word, but he loses his mind because he thinks he might have killed his wife, and then it's like, oh, by the way, we have a job for you. It's playing the same character again that you were running around the streets that we had to, there's a lot of things that you have to
mean-spirited.
Yeah.
I liked, Vincent Price, just same as you. Like Vincent Price is an old, washed-up actor. I think he does that really well. He's clearly annoyed with everybody and anybody that gets in his way outside of Peter Cushing. And then Cushing is, while he's, I wanted more Peter Cushing in the film. I think he's such a warm and delightful presence in a film, and I think especially these older ones, because I think he's a fantastic actor. And to have him kind of just appear on screen, I always get a little like, oh, this is exciting. And he's really good in this. I think he does a really good job going from like, hey, I'm your friend, and we're like, with us to the very end where he's like almost maniacal. Like that whole last monologue where he's doing the villain monologue where he's telling him why he did all the things. He's like manic and crazy, and it's this whole other like character. It's great. And I love watching that. I like that they use kind of the whatever that is interstitial scenes from older movies.
Yep.
I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Kind of a creative way to do that. I don't know if that was just because of studio interference and they're like, okay, our film is 55 minutes long. We need at least an hour and 10. Let's just take a bunch of scenes and jam them in there. But I think it's actually warranted and it makes sense. Having this be a murder mystery / slasher, I think is a really cool conceit. And then having an aging Vincent Price is cool. It's not, young, handsome scientist man who has to, solve the crime. It's old Vincent Price who thinks he's crazy. Yeah. And that's cool. Getting back to something we were talking about at the top of the podcast, I think there's too many sets. I think there's too many locations to keep track of in a film that doesn't need that much.
Do you think it should have been more of the banquet table and directly to the left crushing bed?
I think it should have just been the house, but yes, I think all the beds should have had some crushing mechanism.
Maybe even the tables.
I think
like
it's
a
just
mousetrap situation.
Because the film was called something, I don't remember what it was called. I should have written it down. I did not, but it was called something else, and just calling it Madhouse, I think, is confusing. I understand that there's a house at the end of the film, or kind of throughout. I'll put quotes around that, but you don't get a sense of the place. It's like they've got a weird basement, and then it's just like a projector room. It doesn't.
Yeah, the house doesn't necessarily. That's not like the. That's not the center of the story at all.
It should be. If Peter Cushing is murdering these people, the Madhouse then should have more than like his ex-wife living in the or his wife living in the basement. Vincent Price should be investigating the house, and he should be wrestling with the fact that he's going crazy, and he should be believing that he's seeing things in the house, and Peter Cushing should be messing with him. And, a portrait comes to life, and Vincent Price goes, oh no, and then it turns out it's not. But it's actually just, at the end you find out it was Peter Cushing controlling a portrait with some imagery or something. It should be more, I felt like it should be more in line with that. Instead, we have, like, two extortionist parents, and we have a B story with a producer who cares? I don't care about, and then we have Scotland Yard. Like, they can still be a presence, but it should be about that, and it should be about the relationship between those two men.
Maybe at the end of the movie, another way to do it would have been, because you even mentioned it, Peter Cushing and Vincent Price seemed, like they were losing their minds to the movie. Maybe, to tie in the Madhouse part, maybe they're both none of this is actually happening. Maybe at the end of the movie, the reveal is that they're both
out of their minds
in a sanitarium,
in a padded room,
in a madhouse.
In a madhouse. Oh, that would make perfect sense. And then he's like walking around and he starts seeing people from the film. Yeah, and the person giving him drugs is
maybe they're showing
Scotland
movies
Yard.
In the
Oh, even better. Yeah. We just rewrote the film. We just did what the production crew couldn't do. The other thing is like the kills. I felt like if you're going to use the through line of like Vincent Price's older films, why not pull a Theater of Blood and do the death scenes should be from previous Vincent Price films. You should have somebody melting. You should have, like, whatever. You should have, they had somebody strangled, so they've always got that covered. But, maybe just, if you're going to have the through line be like, oh, see these older films that he was in, and we're going to use that, why not reference that a little bit more? Bring that out a little bit more. The sound design I thought was pretty terrible. The screams were like, sometimes it was just so much louder than everything else, and it was just like startling.
There is I think when Julia dies, the assistant, Vincent Price's assistant, so the assistant in reality, not the assistant in the movies.
Okay.
When she screams at one point, there's a sample in a Rob Zombie song called Super Beast.
Okay.
That sound is pulled from this movie.
Oh, really?
And every time I watch this movie, I forget about it, and then I hear that scream,
and immediately
I'm just like, oh, yeah,
Super Beast.
But yeah, it sounds terrible.
Yeah,
like the scream is like, it almost sounds like there's a metal door shutting plus a scream is happening at the same time.
Yeah, it's just but that's a lot of older films. I think when we did The Haunted Palace, there was like the theme to The Haunted Palace that they just played over and over and over. So sound wasn't really it wasn't really a craft at this point. Maybe in just maybe it was, but maybe in like these particular films they just didn't really care. And that's really it. I think just some lackluster deaths. If his name is Dr. Death, there should be like more than just a crushing bed. There should be I would like to see some more like grotesque deaths, even just things from like Tales of Terror, which I don't even think is on the super gory side, but like they have some really interesting stuff. But other than that, I think the story is great. I think it was engrossing. I didn't really feel like at any point I was like, who did it? I just kind of was like, Peter Cushing's clearly doing it. They both disappeared at the same time, and then he has to like guess. But it's still good performances all around. I think good fun. So yeah, I think it's a good film.
That's where I'm at too. It's not the best movie I've ever seen, but it's definitely it's a fun watch.
Yeah. Well, that's all I've got. Anything else, Adam?
That's all I got.
All right. Well, thank you for listening to this episode of Forgotten Frights. We will be back with, I think we're going to do, this is episode 7, so we will be back with Theater of Blood on episode 8. So thanks for sticking around, and good fright, and good night.